The Opal Spire didn't just cater to the wealthy. It devoured them and spat them out, polished and satisfied. For 5 years, I, Sloane, had been the architect of that satisfaction. My world was a symphony of silent corridors, chilled champagne, and impeccably met demands. It was orderly. It was safe. And then Julian Thorne arrived and set my entire world on fire. He didn't walk into the lobby, he possessed it, dressed in a charcoal suit that cost more than my car. He had the kind of face that belonged on a ruined coin. All sharp angles and dark, brooding intensity. His eyes, the color of stormy slate, scanned the marbled expanse and landed on me with the force of a physical impact. "You must be Sloane," he said, his voice a low baritone that vibrated in the space between my ribs. "I've heard you're the only one who matters here." That was the first warning. I offered my professional, polished smile. "How may I be of service, Mr. Thorne?" His suite, the celestial penthouse, was ready, but his requests began before his luggage even arrived. They weren't written down. They were murmured directly to me, each one a calculated breach of protocol. "The 1945 Chateau Mouton Rothschild," he said that first evening, his gaze holding mine. "I'd like it decanted and waiting in the jacuzzi on my terrace. In 20 minutes. It was an insane request. The wine alone was worth a fortune, and the jacuzzi? But the unspoken challenge in his eyes was clear, impressed me. I did. When he stepped onto his terrace 20 minutes later, the wine was perfectly decanted, resting in a sterling silver cradle beside the steaming water, 2 crystal glasses catching the last rays of the sun. He didn't thank me. He simply nodded, a ghost of a smile on his lips as he shrugged off his robe and stepped into the water, his eyes never leaving mine through the glass door. I felt my cheeks flush and quickly turned away, my heart pounding. The tests continued. He demanded a specific haunting violin concerto to be playing precisely at sunset. I had to call 3 music archivists to find it. He wanted a specific type of black truffle, shaved over his pasta at exactly 9:17 p.m., because he claimed the aroma peaked then. I made it happen. Each request was more intimate, more demanding of my time and my attention. He was peeling away my professional layers, and I was both infuriated and unbearably aroused by it. My ordered life was now filled with the anticipation of his next command, the sound of his voice on the internal line. One night, he called me to his suite to complain about the view. The penthouse had a 360-degree panorama of the city. "The lights are all wrong, Sloane," he said, standing by the floor-to-ceiling window, a glass of amber liquid in his hand. He was close enough that I could smell his cologne, sandalwood, and something darker like smoke. "Sir," I asked, my voice tight, "they're too chaotic. I need you to find the pattern. Tell me what you see." It wasn't a complaint. It was another test. I stepped forward, my arm almost brushing his, and looked out. I told him what I saw, not just lights, but the pulse of the city. The financial district's steady glow, the frenetic dance of the theater district, the quiet, residential pockets sleeping in the distance. I spoke for 5 minutes without stopping, and he listened utterly still. When I finished, he turned to me. The space between us crackled. "You see more than anyone gives you credit for, don't you?" he murmured. My breath hitched. No guest had ever seen me. They only saw the uniform. The culmination came a week later. He summoned me to the penthouse at midnight. He stood by the grand piano, a single flower in a crystal vase beside him. It was an orchid, but unlike any I had ever seen. Its petals were a deep, velvety black, so dark they seemed to absorb the light, with a single, shocking streak of crimson at the center, a heart of blood in the midnight. "It's called a Midnight Orchid," he said, his voice hushed. "There are perhaps 3 in cultivation. I own 2 of them." "It's beautiful," I whispered, mesmerized. "It's yours," he said, "on one condition." I knew, with a terrifying, thrilling certainty, what was coming. My blood turned to fire in my veins. "You have a rule, Sloane. Staff do not fraternize with guests. You break that rule. You join me for dinner." Here, right now. The air vanished from the room. This was the line. The one that, if crossed, would obliterate my career, my reputation, everything I had built. This is highly inappropriate, Mr. Thorne, I managed, my professional facade cracking. Julian, he corrected, taking a step closer. The scent of him wrapped around me. And I'm not asking you as a guest. I'm asking you as a man who has spent a small fortune and every ounce of his ingenuity just to have a few moments of your undivided attention, without the uniform. He reached out, his fingers not touching me, but hovering just above the lapel of my blazer. This game we've been playing, Sloane. I'm tired of it. I don't want a concierge. I want the woman who sees the pattern in the city lights. I want the woman who isn't afraid of a challenge. He picked up the orchid and held it out to me. It was more than a flower. It was a key, a dare, a promise of ruin or revelation. My heart was a wild drum against my ribs. I looked from the impossible flower to his impossible eyes, seeing the raw hunger in them, a hunger that mirrored my own. The safe, ordered path of my life stretched out behind me, bleak and gray. Before me was only Julian and the terrifying, exhilarating unknown. I took the orchid. The velvety petals felt like a secret against my skin. "The rule," I said, my voice barely a whisper. A slow, devastating smile spread across his face. It was the first real, unguarded smile I had seen from him, and it stole the last of my breath. "To hell with the rule, Sloane," he murmured, his hand finally coming to rest on my waist, pulling me gently towards him. "Let's make our own." And as his lips met mine, I knew I wasn't losing the game. I was willingly, gloriously setting the board on fire,